dictionary. For example, when the police say, "Do you understand?" you'll say, "Yes." What they are really saying is, "Do you stand?" Ah, the government. It loves you and wants to keep you safe and well. It even wants to make paying taxes, fines, and court costs easier for you. How? Well, you'll need to meet your StrawMan. He was born the same day you were. He looks like you, has the same name, and lives in your house, but you never knew he existed. You will have even paid his parking tickets or taxes. The worst part? He's been dead from day one. From every birth certificate, a legal personality, or legal fiction, is created with the same name to confuse little old you into thinking it's you. So, there is a human you and a paper you, or as it's commonly known, a StrawMan. So when it seems like government officials, court clerks, or the police are speaking English, they aren't. They're speaking legalese, designed to make you agree to verbal and written contracts without even knowing about it, all spun from Black's Law Dictionary. For example, when the police say, "Do you understand?" you'll say, "Yes." What they are really saying is, "Do you stand under our authority?" Oops-a-daisy, you just created a verbal contract with them. Oh, you clever government. Did you know that whenever you register something, you are handing over title to the person you register it with? That's right. Whenever you register something with the government, they assume it belongs to them. Registered your car? Super! Now you are the registered keeper of your vehicle, and the government can crush it when you don't pay your, StrawMan's taxes. Expecting a new bundle of joy? Well then you need to register your little darling with a birth certificate. Then they can start the process all over again and create a new StrawMan for your little one. Isn't that great? So when Junior grows up, he'll be able to generate revenue just like you have. When you notify on your baby by signing the birth certificate, your child becomes a ward of state, and if the government doesn't like what you're doing, they'll assume it's okay to take the child away, or make new rules for things they don't like. Not enough school? Smacking your child? Shouting too loudly? Then it's off to social services for the little one. When you get a bill, it's sent to you, but belongs to your StrawMan, not you. That's why bills, fines, and summons start with Mr., Mrs., or Ms. Sometimes you'll see your surname in capitals, just like on a gravestone. That's because your StrawMan is dead, and just a silly piece of paper, created before you could comprehend or even consent to it. When you go to court, you represent your StrawMan, so you, the human, take on any costs, fees, taxes, and fines involved for the StrawMan. The human you doesn't even need to pay them. But you made a contract with the court by appearing on behalf of your legal personality or StrawMan, just like the government knew you would. Confused? Well, don't worry. The government doesn't want you to know anyway. If you knew, you'd stop paying things like council tax and parking tickets. Because when you go to court, you are representing your StrawMan. You are you, alive and made of flesh and blood. Your StrawMan, or legal personality, is a piece of paper created from your birth certificate. And you think it's you. What a silly Billy. Would you like to know more? Well then go over to tpuc.org. Get up, get informed, and get real.
Everybody, we're doing a special feature. Oh, you have to get my mic on. That does help. Anyway, James Wlos is here. James, thank you for being here. Bring you up on that. There. Oh, that's not you. There you are.
Yes, I am.
And make sure your mic's working too. Okay,
Yes.
we got
Is
it.
my
We're
microphone
getting all
working?
figured out. Yeah. Anyway, and I'll bring up your contact information. They can go to. Oops, James Wlos Cape. That's you, right?
Yes, that is
There.
me, I believe.
Yes.
I think I see it on the tiny little screen just to your right. Yes.
Yeah. And so what I'm thinking is you've had trouble with I'm having trouble right at this time. I'm WillPWilson, by the way, and this is the AllDayLive show segment of it. We're creating a new type of series, and also we're going to do this to try to get the kids in from PSKS.org, which is a program you helped found about 20 years ago, right, James?
Yes, it is.
And PSKS, and I'm going to bring up their website in the background here, I guess, if I can. But go ahead. First of all, tell them about PSKS, can you?
Peace to the Streets by Kids in the Streets was founded and directed by a person by the name of Elaine Simons, which was unfortunately elected out of services, and now she's currently unemployed and have no money. And certainly, sure enough, the 10-year plan to end homelessness doesn't recognize that she's unemployed and has no money. And well, where does the 10-year plan to end homelessness go? But that's a different type of a subject. Peace of the Streets by Kids in the Streets had a concert back in 1995, September of 1995, which was down at the Seattle Center. And Elaine Simons was one of the first ones that conducted the entire concert and hired the kids to put the concert on as a fundraising event to have a center called Peace of the Streets for Kids in the Streets here in Seattle, Washington. But unfortunately, the city council members just unfortunately hasn't even looked at the fact that Elaine Simons was probably one of the best executive directors that the city could have had for this homeless agency. So let's try to get Elaine Simons back into the driver's seat of Peace of the Streets for Kids in the Streets.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. And then you're trying to create projects. One of them is to get them to look at what we can do for media. So I figure if we start a series, and I work with you, James, they'll show up. I think if we do it kind of like on a regular kind of continually do that type of thing. Am I wrong?
I hope so.
I mean, I've got to start somewhere. So we've got to kind of create the template for them, the tempo to file. I mean, you've got to start somewhere. I mean, I think I'm right about that. James Lost, PSKS.org. Where's the location of the facility?
1609 19th Avenue, Capitol Hill, Seattle, Washington. And it's at the corner of 19th and Pine Street. That's 19th and Pine. So if you have any kind of donations, anything you want to donate to the center and help out the homeless up at Peace of the Streets for Kids in the Streets, come on up, and we'd be more than happy to even make sure you even have a warm meal and a hot cup of coffee before you leave.
What would be Lacrosse Streets right here where this new facility is? It's a new one. They moved.
They moved to 19th and Pine. That's the corner of 19th and Pine. It's the northwest corner, should be the northwest corner of 19th and Pine.
Really, really good. And then, so for example, now that they know where it's at, it's a new facility. It's only open a few days a week, though, still, right?
Yeah, 3 days a week.
Okay, what days? So they know.
Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from noon to 3.
Noon to 3. It's really not open like it used to be. It used to be open all the time. That doesn't make sense
correct.
either. I mean, it was open every day.
It used to be open every day.
Well, the kids had nowhere to stay warm. They get lunch, get coffee. And we're talking the program that Elaine Simons put together helped over thousands of kids, right? Thousands people. Do you understand? Thousands. And we're looking at you probably being able to get cars and trucks donated to you because that's what you want to do. And you have places for them like up north in Marysville, a very large location where the owner of the property is willing to let you have a location where you can get cars parked to be worked on, and he'll supply the tools and stuff, and you can get these young people up there, right? Am I wrong?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, and you're setting it up, and then the donations can be donated as a tax write-off to PSKS. And then all we're doing is giving a chance for these young people to do something, let alone I try to teach them to do TV and movies and all that kind of stuff, which is why I do this. And I've mentored a lot of people at doing this, a lot of people. So only a few of them stayed with it. So we're going to try and keep it going anyway. And I hope to be doing video here this April, May, June, for the Northwest Semi-Pro Football League up here. We've had Brian Mann on with some of his players. Northwest Cardinals, their first game is May 17th down in Thurston County. But he's doing an incredible program, and we brought up with you on the program, James, that he's got a program that might work with the PSKS.org program called Second Chances. And that's why he's doing his coaching. He's trying to give youth something to do. And it's a men's league of 18 or age and older. And I mean, these are different things we can do here. And if we brought up all the fraud that goes on with this homeless thing, it's ridiculous. As we just interviewed Stu Webb, StuWebb.com, right? We discussed that briefly. And all we're seeing is mortgage fraud, millions of homes being illegally confiscated. And apparently Tuesday nights at the Bethany Church here in Seattle, is that Queen Anne? Or is there more than one Bethany? I'm not sure.
There's more than one Bethany.
But we'll find out. I'll have to look online. It's a Tuesday night group. I guess they're kind of working with the Northwest Justice Project because they're trying to illegally evict me. I'm a 100% disabled Vietnam veteran. The building, it's at 13030 Linden Avenue North. It's the Cambridge apartment complex. I can't believe the number of managers they shuffle through there. But they're claiming and filing a so-called notice of eviction, or whatever it's called, summons for eviction. And then they had this character over at Lasher Holzapfel, and his name, I'm bringing it up for the record because I'm about to file a suit against them, because they're responsible for the bed bugs that saturated their building, ruined everything I own. They supposedly sent in Terminix, which did nothing. It just literally did nothing. And Lasher Holzapfel here, you know, those guys, they were part of the representing of Seafirst Bank and Mr. Michael S. Kunath years ago when they stole millions of dollars from me. And then you find out we don't even have a judicial system. But anyway, just for the record, Robert J. Henry, Washington State Bar Association number 6171, attorney for plaintiff, Independent Living Associates, the firm Lasher Holzapfel Sperry at Eberson, 2600 2 Union Building, 601 Union Street, Seattle 98101. Phone number 206-340-2563 to get a hold of this guy. Now, he sent over to me, and I'll give you a chance to talk for just a second, James. This is only a half-hour segment, by the way, everybody. They are forcing me to have to sign a document that they've submitted stating I have to vacate my residence in a week and a half. Now, they dropped the summons of eviction at my door, didn't even serve it with me. They claim that if I don't leave and I don't sign this document, which I've rescinded because I have the 3-day clause, RCW, I can rescind an agreement in 3 days, which I have done. And so you take a look at this thing, and it's settlement agreement and stipulation for judgment without appeal. How does that work? Anyway, now their bed bugs are supposed to be in their management. I've got the city compliance people come in to inspect, and they claimed I live dirty, which my VA Section 8 housing inspector looked at the place 2 weeks ago, and everything's fine, clean. They didn't say anything was wrong except the bed bugs. They said go talk to the management. Well, I already had several hundred times. And we're going to try to subpoena all the other people at this facility that also have had bed bugs, which is just about probably everybody in the building. And they're claiming I brought them. Now, wait a minute. They were there before I got there. Now, their attorney, this Mr. Henry, I'm filing a suit against their law firm because they're claiming that if I don't sign this agreement, they claim that I owe them money, $750, but they can't come up with an proper accounting to prove whatever it is I owe. I've been paying my rent every month. And in the meantime, why should I pay rent for a place where their bed bugs have destroyed all of my furniture, all of my bedding? These things are even DARPA, I believe. They got to be DARPA. They got into my freezer and are living in the freezer. I kid you not, in the icebox. So I don't even have food to eat. But in the meantime, I don't want to be out in the cold, freezing to death with nowhere to do anything but freeze. And they're going to have me, because that way I do what they want me to do, and they won't file this eviction in court, which then would take away my chances of having Section 8 VA housing, which means that I won't ever have a chance to live anywhere. Again, at 12 years of being homeless, yeah, I did all these TV shows, thousands of them, homeless, because people helped me get, at least set up a place where I could edit the shows, little corners in the basements and stuff. So I was able to do it and stayed with it. But I'm not going to be homeless again. And I've got TV, by the way. And Mr. Henry, I'm going to send you a link to your offices so you get a message. I'm going to make you known, sir. And I'm going to get you and your law firm known throughout all the world because I stream all over the world, and I'll be on YouTube as well as on Seattle Community Media. For the record, that you are trying to extort me. You're extorting me and saying I have to do what you tell me to do by signed document that you haven't even given me time to find proper time to be able to have a review of it by someone who's a professional legal person. That's why I don't even have to, like, I have to do this right now. Instead of going to the Northwest Justice Project. Oh, and I was going to mention the Bethany Church. Tuesday nights at this church, they have at 7 o'clock, you get there at 6:30, you get a free dinner. And it's working with people who have been illegally evicted. And they're bringing in attorneys and lawyers and people to help out on this. Apparently there's been thousands of us that have been targeted by these Illuminati slime that call themselves in charge. These buildings I'm in are probably some of the Bush crime families flipping, because that's what they do, launder money and flip them through properties. If you go to the book by Pete Bruton, The Mafia of the CIA and George Bush, you'll read about how they do that, and that's where probably all this stuff. That was why for 12 years, 15,000 veterans were homeless in the streets of Seattle till the VA stepped in finally, because you could be an out-of-state drug dealer from Des Moines, which I actually observed, and be here in less than a month, have housing. Now, how does that work? And you had 15,000 veterans on the street. Apparently, the VA has gotten about 11,000 homes by now in this 2 years. Come on. What kind of stuff is going on in this country? But anyways, James, PSKS, and the Bethany Church, you're going to see me up there. I'm going to be working with, I've got lawsuits to file. You should have been doing the same thing. Gene Minetti, world famous car rancher here in Seattle. But I give him the credit, James. He has been a tenacious suit filer, and has strung them out on that. Every time they towed his cars, which he had hundreds of them. Tell us about it.
Yeah, thousands of vehicles. Gene Minetti is a well-known car rancher, probably all over the whole entire United States. He's well-known. I've heard radio talk show host on the East Coast commenting on Gene Minetti. So Gene Minetti is a quite largely well-known in terms of the, or should I say, well-known in the towing industry. So yeah, Lincoln Towing is a very corrupt, very evil. So is the politicians that run this city. The politicians are extremely corrupt. I mean, they say they want to end homelessness, but unfortunately they keep the homeless people as slaves, and they also keep the homeless people without their vehicles. And, well, yeah, like I say, they're supposed to be helping out homelessness, but they keep impounding people's vehicles out here. So where is the end of homelessness? You know, all I can say is, Seattle, quit creating the problem of homelessness.
Well, take note, two parties that should have been arrested 14 years ago when they forged my name on a phony trust with my name on it that had nothing to do with me. I tried to file cases. I also tried to get police case numbers. They wouldn't even let me do it in King County. After they took my house at 22025 Redwood Falls City Way, illegally, with an illegal trust, forced me to be, took everything I owned, broke in. They had two characters named Terry Heston and Bill Schroeder, both of them tow truck drivers for these organized crime towing companies, which have their locksmiths, by the way, and they can get into anybody's house. They also are trained to be able to disable your ADT, which they did. Got into my house, found out where all my titles and deeds were to my house, and a second license. I always had second copies in case I lost the one I had. And we were able to go in and forge my signature on everything I own, along with a Rochelle Parask. This is after Michael Kuneth. I'm sure they were operatives working for Kuneth, and Bank of Not America, which was when they took over Seafirst Bank. I was starting my accounts there. They were the managers of the Seafirst Banking Financial Division. Quit when it got bought out, started their own firm called Kuneth, Karen, Riney, and Atkins. And this slime dog managed to figure out with my first wife, Jennifer Ann Cohn, C-O-H-N, how to steal everything I had, pretty much. And I'm sure that the wife was putting chemical lobotomy substances like arsenic and stuff in my food. And who knows what they were doing at the CIA level. Like when I mentioned Jim Morse, head of the National Security Agency out here, just stops in with this Ab Mobasher, CIA Iranian, and has a black box in his lap, which I brought up on the Stu Webb programs we've been doing about that they use this neutron device to erase part of my DNA, which means what they do is they disable your mind. But we're not going to go there right now. But anyway, I'm just bringing this for the record. This will be broadcast. And James, they've done this to you for years. And it's like I can see why Gene Minetti has filed suits for them towing his cars and causing them a problem, because he's known by all the judges here in Seattle, right?
Correct, yes.
And maybe we're going to do the same thing. I mean, I'm now being illegally evicted, and I'm going to have lawsuits filed against them under the same circumstances. They're responsible for not managing their bedbug problem. They are responsible for the wrecking of all my property and my food, Not that I want to be out on the street. I put up with it, but they're not providing me with the provision of costs involved with getting relocated. You know, oh gosh, what's that all about? Well, you're supposed to just be able to go live on the sidewalk for now, right? Because we blame you. Now, I burn incense, and no one said that I can't burn incense. I mean, it's like I do once in a while, and it's kind of to me, it's a spiritual thing that I do, pray. And so they're blaming strange smells coming out of the apartment, but they can't verify anything, because in that same building floor that I'm in, the tenants down this hall obviously are stinking the place up with marijuana, because I can smell it. And I don't smoke any of that, but it gathers around the hallway around my room. So they're blaming me for my apartment. They're blaming me for that. Now, I hope to have a case number here for all you that may want to follow this whole thing. So we're going to start getting more involved with this, as long as we continue to stay dedicated week by week, right, James?
Correct, yes.
And also with the towing, and that we're going to be working for volunteers, people to voluntarily give cars for tax write-offs through PSKS. You're going to be using the vehicles to help teach mechanics and that stuff. We have location up in Marysville, like we said, and give the kids something to do. You know, we've got a boat, a 110-foot long boat that we want to get them out working on, right?
Yes, it's called the Safari Spirit, which
right.
will bring up news briefs here in the coming weeks.
We will. So we're doing video. We're going to cover this whole thing. In the meantime, I'm going to put together this as a starting documentary based on the fact that I'm now experiencing being targeted as well. The problem that I'm sure that these people don't realize is I'm also in broadcast, and we can broadcast the truth. And you've got Danny Bonaducci in the background, James.
Yes, I do, yes.
A shout out to Danny. You want to get him on the show? You want to interview him?
Yeah, Danny Bonaducci has his morning talk show from 5:45 to 9 o'clock in the morning. But what makes his talk show so interesting from 5 o'clock in the morning until 9 is at 7:45 to 8 o'clock, he does Live Coach. So if you guys have a radio out there and you guys have access to tuning in Seattle 102.5 KCOK, you can tune into Danny Bonaducci, Live Coach.
That's interesting. By the way, if you can also, and it is a tax write-off apparently, but that is my Facebook page right there in the background. And you can, if you go down here, well, let me bring it up. You can go right here to GoFundMe. Where is it? And this is my GoFundMe page. And I have not received any help from anybody, but I do need help right now, especially under the circumstance I'm in. I hope someone's listening. That's where you can go to deposit, give me some funding to help me survive, period, let alone be able to continue to do TV shows. And I bring that up right here. But anyway, and if you go to this address, this is where it's at right here. GoFundMe. $1 would help. 50 cents. Even if you have to pay $1 just to deliver 50 cents into the account. No one's donated. How does that work? I mean, you guys do 2,000 shows for the Northwest, help the cannabis industry become established by doing over 100 one-hour documentaries on it, getting people to become known who should have been. Don Darrington, one of the great experts on this, medical cannabis factors. Old Toby creator and strain creator, Matthew Gordon. I mean, it goes on and it goes on. So we do what we're doing. We're doing it selflessly. But now I'm in a circumstance where I'm about to be forced to have to be contend with a criminal operation here. Obviously, I'm not the first. Obviously, I'm going to be gathering forces with other people who also have already been or are being illegally evicted. You know, just like illegally towing, right, James?
Yeah, victimizing human beings for being broke.
Yeah. Now, they steal all your funds. I just gave the names of the people. That was Rochelle Perosk, Terry Heston, Bill Schroeder. They all three worked together. She claimed to be a former IRS attorney. And then these two characters still are towing and stealing, obviously. And nothing, when I filed my cases, Judge Kuhnauer in federal court, which you're supposed to notify a federal judge anyway, dismisses my cases. Then when I find out that the federal court system, anyone can walk in and take your files out of there. Well, now they got all your money. You put your stuff in storage. They follow you there, and they got these lock experts that can just weasel in, you know, when people are coming and going, and they got the lock pick capability to go into your storage box, and then you go up to your storage box the next day, and all your files are gone. So they can steal them out of federal court, follow you. They got the money to do it. and pay off anybody they want or steal anything they have to and destroy you, organized-wise. Terry Heston, Bill Schroeder, Rochelle Parask, all of them should have gone to jail. This is 14 years ago. And then I filed a case in Superior Court, of which Doherty, D-O-E-R-T-Y something, one of the most crooked judges in the history of mankind, and who knows how many children's lives he's completely wiped out because he's involved with the child prostitution services as well. You know, everybody says the guy's a known pervert. I've heard stories that he's behind the scenes from private investigators say he's a pedophile also. So, you know, these guys are all tied into one great big crime syndicate. Well, anyway, he dismisses my case. Well, I'm just learning at the time how to handle my own legal cases as my own paralegal. Then there's another party named McKinney, another lawyer who weaseled his way in and helped me because I did learn a little bit, but it cost me before I was completely broke with this McKinney. I can't think of his first name, but he did say that most of these judges will not even follow their own court rules. You have to watch it very closely. And they're all crooked. They're actors. That's what they call them, a tournament society. The whole thing, and wear wigs. They're actors. These guys are crooked. Guys acting like they're official judges. And you're lying when you call them your honor. Except, what are you calling them? I mean, I'm just, sir, I just have to say I'm lying. How can I call you an honor? These guys are crooks. The whole legal system is crooked. And then when they tried to murder me at the Fred Meyer facility over in Federal Way, and a good longer story, Dennis Potter, another lawyer, says he'll handle the case, waits till the last week before the statute of limitations runs out to file my case, and then quits. And then, you know, I'm permanently disabled, pins in my hip, compound fractured hip in the store premises. And all I could see was one set of corruption after another. But we'll not go into that later. We'll figure that one out if you want to listen. But James, okay, they can go to PSKS. You're going to be doing programs for them. What else before this last minute? One last statement. Really
not too much to mention except the fact that if they could just donate whatever they can do, you know, we're not, you know, pushing anybody to do what they don't want to do, but we really could use a few donations out here, people. I mean, we've had nothing but corrupt politicians, corrupt tow yards, and city council members in this city who just don't simply take accountability for anybody suffering half to death out here in these streets. And again, they say they have a 10-year plan to end homelessness, and yet they keep taking your vehicles. So we'll bring up updates down the road.
Shout out to Lee Majors. Is his birthday coming up? You want to bring that up?
Yeah, it's Lee Majors' 75th birthday coming up. So we want to keep in mind he was the $6 million man from 1974 to 1978.
Right. Happy birthday, Lee. Maybe we'll get him on the show. You mentioned we need to bring up the fact of we can get them on the program. We want to get Danny Bonaducci on, the official invitation to him. Danny, tell it to him before we end the show.
Danny Bonaducci, I'd like to get him on our program once in a while.
Yeah. Sounds good. Now we're going to wrap this up. You got this one thing here. That's your straw man. Where's this one? You had that's PSKS. You can see that right there. And is it this one?
Yes, that might be it.
Okay, Danny takes on divorce.
We have a very interesting problem because if I'm not mistaken, I'm new here, but I do know a fair amount about the law, and with the divorce rate of mine, I know more than I should. I believe we are in a no-fault state, just not. Am I in a no-fault state? Yeah. Okay, here's what happens. If he won't move out, all you have to do, and it's simple. As a matter of fact, they'll do it for you. The judge will force you to sell that house and then split the assets. You don't get, if he cheated on you, so you think you should get more? No. He can cheat on you day and night. It's a no-fault state. You're going to get half of your house. The judge is going to compel you to sell and then split the assets. Here's the other way to go, though. Buy him out. If he doesn't want to stay, and it's going to be hell living with the woman you're divorcing or divorced. It's going to be hell. I tried it. Buy him out. If you don't have the money to buy him out, let him buy you out. And if he can't do that, throw the house up on the market and then split up that money. Those are your three ways, and it's easy to do. And you can go to LegalZoom.com, or you can go to a good lawyer right here in this state, and that's usually easier, because here's the thing. I will tell you things day and night. You go up to the clerk of the court, and you file these papers, and you call LegalZoom, and you want to do your will, and you want to do that. It's all correct. I give you correct information every single day. Then you walk into a bureaucratic building with all sorts of people. It's like going to the DMV. You just go, where the hell am I supposed to go now? Bonaducci said go in here. Well, I was right when I told you to go. Just the fact that you don't know how to complete the action, that's your thing. I will make sure that that goes right for you. But right now, just stay in the house.
If someone were going to expose an operation, quite frankly, we would have three options. We would have to neutralize that person. He would be either intimidated into not going forward with the expose, and there are many ways to intimidate people. You can just make threats against them. You can move, once you move toward those threats though, and actually do something, and that's coercion. And that's the second phase that we would go into, is we would coerce them into doing it, like charge them with, throw them in jail, it would be an actual movement toward neutralizing that person. So just make it look like a drug user, a drug dealer, or a drunk. Oh, you could accuse them of anything. As an example, I've been arrested 10 or 15 times on supposedly DUI charges, but yet they've all been dismissed. Well, yeah, and the primary thing, too, is, to harass and hassle a person like that. But what you want to do is, if you don't think that you can close them down, is the next step is to make them non-credible. And that's putting them into a federal situation, because federal...
Johnny's in America, no tax at the wheel. No one needs anyone, they don't even just pretend. Johnny's in America. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid of Americans. Johnny's in America. Johnny wants a brain. Johnny wants to suck on the coke. Johnny wants a woman. Johnny wants to think of a joke. Johnny's in America. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid of Americans. Johnny's in America. Johnny looks up at the stars. Johnny combs his hair and Johnny wants to be in cars. Johnny's in America. Johnny's in America. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. Yeah, I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't. I'm afraid of Americans. God is an American. 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 God is an American.
I hope I piss him off. Go ahead, James.
10-year plan to end homelessness doesn't seem to be working out there as thoughtful as it should have been. And unfortunately, yes, in the city of Seattle, they still continue to keep impounding vehicles. Well, where's all that money actually going? Who is going to benefit from the 10-year plan to end homelessness, such as, the folks who live outside in the streets? Well, if you get the Real Change newspaper, there's students that have to live in Nicholsville. Just get the Real Change newspaper. It should tell you quite a bit on what's going on. Well, what's going on right now, there's real big debates between all these, a lot of argument going on behind closed doors with nonprofit organizations funneling $50,000 a month to actually, mainstream their money. They're mainstreaming. They're pocketing lots of money. Nick Licata is a real huge crook in this city. The city of Seattle is experiencing a lot of corruption. The city council, like I said, Councilmember Nick Licata has been pocketing millions of dollars to solve a problem and doesn't even care anything about it. Now they made Tim Burgess, which is an ex-city cop, he's a council president, city of Seattle. He could care less about how to solve the problem. He's making millions of dollars on taxpayer money.
How's he doing that, James?
Well, they've all been gifted multi-millions of dollars from donations from many different organizations wanting to solve the problem. Many donations even from the AllDayLive show, which has definitely donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to the city council, plus not also time, money, and...
Wait a minute. I've never received a penny. Ever.
Well, the city council...
And they get millions of dollars?
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah, they get millions.
I've never gotten a penny. And then plus they've took over and they've put themselves in charge of public access TV here. Okay. And they get all the good equipment and all the good stuff and pay salaries to all their little talking heads. We don't get anything. There's only about 10 of us that actually do the homegrown video TV broadcasts here. Patricia Shoup, Don Gran, Karen Campbell, several others, but it's just a few of us that do the real home produced stuff here for our community. There isn't anybody else. We're not paying anything. None of us are. And it's like we're avoided when it comes to somebody donating to us. It'd be nice if you did out there in TV land, but apparently the only people that watch are broke like we are. The ones with money don't care, because obviously they got all our money. They stole our money, right, James?
Yes.
Steal it all, your cars, steal your vehicles, your tents.
Correct.
They don't care. And then
They
this
could
Bill
care
Block
less.
runs around, gets $150,000 a year to talk about homeless stuff. And boy, oh boy, he's a great talker. He was in my show a couple of times. A great talker. But did they do anything? Did they do anything for the homeless here, James? At all?
No, big
Nothing.
arguments right now between a lot of the nonprofit organizations how to solve the problem, and neither group is really solving the problem. We've experienced a second executive director of Peace for the Streets by Kids in the Streets, and still the problem. There's still more homeless that are showing up in the doorways of these shelters. More are coming, and they keep taxing the taxpayer to solve the problem, and the problem is not being solved. There's rate hikes and utility payments, rate hikes and mortgage payments, rents increasing, your fuel is increasing. The price to even operate as a human being on this planet is gone skyrocketed to the entire sky. No one prints money. Who is representing us behind closed doors in the Federal Reserve? The Federal Reserve is no part of the federal government, but yet they keep treating homeless people like slaves. Yes, I admit we've accepted it because we didn't have any idea that we were giving up legal consent to the Corporation of Washington State. But what is the Corporation of Washington State? What is the 10-year plan? Who is benefiting from the 10-year plan to end homelessness? Certainly, I am not getting or receiving any kind of help from the 10-year plan to end homelessness because they keep impounding my vehicles. All I want to do is find out from the 10-year plan to end homelessness, why do you keep creating the problem? City of Seattle, why are you creating the problem? It's so easy to solve. Someone has a vehicle, that vehicle is their home.
Well, James, real fast, and as we mentioned in the past, and bringing up the subject and covered a lot of programs in the past, even with the Occupy movement, and that's J.B. Campbell, American Defense Party. It's something to think about, people. What are we defending? We're not even defending. We need to defend the homeless. We need to defend the medical cannabis people. There's defense, but nobody's. It's like, what do we do? And we don't have any money. They stole all our money, our cars, our tents, our lives, our children. And all you've done is watch this futilely, James, over the years, this whole meet the meetings. How many hundreds of meetings have you been to?
Thousands.
Thousands of meetings. I've gone to hundreds with him. And I sit there, the last one I was at, I had to get up and walk out because I said to him, the last one I was at, I had to get up and walk out because I said to him, I went to him for 5-6 years with you. I mean, we went to the Renton City Council meeting on homelessness. And what I saw was they were all getting ready for a weekend retreat where they were going to talk about homelessness, and the money was going in for the retreat, right? That's wonderful. And they all couldn't wait to go play golf and have the weekend retreat. The Renton City Council, this is about 8 years ago?
About 8 years ago.
About 8 years ago. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And there's about 20 people in this council meeting group. Oh, it's a big deal. We're going to go talk about homelessness and play golf. Wow. Isn't that great? So, in finding remedy, and the homeless people really have no defense at all. Remember that crime syndicate guy called Nichols, the former mayor here? The guy was involved, apparently his sister was involved with a cover-up of over 20 911 calls. Apparently he put her in charge, and 20 calls where people were murdered, and then he took her out and hid her somewhere because of that. The guy's really tied to a lot of stuff. Don Montoya brings out on a call for investigation about the payoff he got for the viaduct, and then she disappears. We find out 2 years later they murdered her in Western State Hospital. That's what I found out. I mean, what is this? People don't realize it. You should have signs at the state border, be warning, state of Washington controlled by Satanists and crime syndicates. You might not even be able to leave here alive. Seriously, people, you don't get it. And the rest of the country knows what this state's all about. The whole state's founded by crime syndicates, run by crime syndicates, everything here. And we have the 1878 Constitution, right, James?
1878
1878 versus 1889. Well, Kurt Riggins, the tribal lawyer, federal lawyer, has been on the show and probably will be soon, brought up the fact that they brought out 800 hitmen, killed over 8,000 people, took their titles to their homes, and then you got these big timber industry guys. How'd they get all this land? Do you know how'd they get all this land?
Yeah, they just stole it right out from other taxpayers.
Indians and and pioneers that came out here just killed them all and took their land, their titles. apparently. And this 18 came up with their own constitution, which isn't even a valid constitution. De jure means valid. And this one, 1889, doesn't even define the state's borders, let alone when Kurt Reagan's tried to address our state Supreme Court to try to bring up the fact that, hey, we're being run by a de facto constitution. They tried to murder him on the way out of the state. They tried to poison him. And that was after twice he was beat up in his house up here in Snohomish County by phony warrants that weren't even issued correctly. And I mean, it goes on and it goes on. Ask Kurt Riggins, he'll be on again. He can tell the story again. So you got this crime syndicate that runs everything. And then you got people that come in here thinking that it's part of the rest of the United States. I'm warning you people, this state is run by Satanists. They have human sacrifice that goes on. You can't even get hired by the corporations here unless you're part of that secret society. And it's all tied to the Jesuit crime syndicate. And who knows what else. And I'm going to say it like it is, because it is. And I'm warning anyone, do not come into this state. You will never leave alive. That's what they did to me. I mean, look at what they did to me. I mean, look what they do to you. I mean, these car companies, these towing companies are rackets. And I want to put some names out for the record. Mr. Michael S. Kunath. How about Joe Eisen lawyer down in Houston? When I couldn't find a lawyer up here because the Bar Association is a crime syndicate. And I didn't know that. I thought this was a system run by people with honor and integrity. You find out there is no honor, no integrity. These judges are actors. They're all part of the satanic coven here. They're all part of the so-called human sacrifice, child pedophile cover-up going on here, international money and human laundering and drug operations. You're talking about crime. This whole place is a crime syndicate. People, stay out of Washington State. I warn you. And by the way, if any place needs a shake-up and an earthquake, this state really needs it. I mean, after you see what they've done, I can tell you through experience, there is no real judicial system here in this state. And after they stole my estate, King County wouldn't even let me file a crime report. How does that work? I mean, it goes on. I mean, it's just unbelievable, people. Stay away from Washington. You don't even start a business here. You have no idea what you're messing with. This state is one of the most dangerous places on planet Earth, and they will punch your brain full of micro holes with microwave technologies. Believe me, I've seen them do it to most of the people here that aren't a part of their beehive. And what do you mean? Come on. I mean, am I wrong?
No, you're
and
right.
most of these homeless people are probably being used for target practice. I mean, come on. I mean, I'm trying to warn you people. Look what I have had go through here. And what I had a multi-million-dollar estate. I founded 7 NASDAQ companies. My grandfather was co-founder of the National Football League with George Halas. In 1980, I founded the first international football conference in history, the Northwest International Football Alliance. I played 12 years of semi-pro in college football, recruited over 500 football players, got 16 of them into the NFL. Do you think these people have any respect for who somebody like me is? They don't know what the word means, respect. This is the most blood-sucking, slimy, evil pieces of scum in the universe in this state and running this state and now running our country and our world. So what things have we got left, people? We don't have much time left at all. We're going to sit around and act real nice and be honest, law-abiding targets? Am I wrong?
You're correct.
James, I mean, I'm sorry, but, you know, we only got a couple of minutes left here, about 4 or 5 minutes left. Go ahead and give us another report. What do you think could be a constructive remedy for what's going on here, even with the crime syndicates running the whole place?
You know, tow truck drivers, they certainly don't have any respect for anyone's vehicle. They just normally would just crush your vehicle and send you the notice in the mail and saying that you have to pay several thousands of dollars. Well, like we say, there's a 10-year plan to end homelessness, but the city council in this city have pocketed multi-millions of dollars to solve the problem, and they've pocketed the money for themselves, taken themselves out to beautiful new movies and beautiful food.
You wonder who's the people eating out who have
lavish
cars.
Restaurants.
We don't have cars. We don't. I mean, I'm thankful that I'm not homeless for the last year. Thank God that, you know, the VA put something into motion to help people like me. Being 18,000 veterans in the streets of Seattle for 12 years homeless, while the HUD's giving housing to their drug dealers working for the Bush crime syndicate. I mean, that all makes total sense. I mean, it's unbelievable what we've had to deal with here. Anyway, information, you can get a hold of me. Obviously, you people aren't going to donate to us. Obviously, it's only our enemies that watch these programs so they can figure out what they can do to try to sabotage us one way or another, or even shoot us full of micro holes or give us chemical body smore or whatever kind of handlers or problems, idiots that they can put around us to try to help us not enjoy life whatsoever. Obviously, they enjoy life, don't they?
Yes, they love enjoying life. Every time they put stickers on your vehicle, they enjoy just crushing everything you own and selling the metal and bringing the metal over to China. So yes, where are the jobs? Most of our vehicles are being sent to the Chinese to develop inexpensive automobiles that you possibly will never give to your grandchildren.
Yeah, what a fantasy they're all in. Well, anyway, people, you're all about to die. We're in an extinction event anyway, so you nutcases allowed yourselves to have your power and greed to now destroy the entire planet. And when people like me, who you've already destroyed, try to give you a remedy that you can clean it up, you don't even listen to us. Instead, you still try to hurt us and destroy us. I haven't seen my daughter, Haley Lynn Brown, for 12 years now. You know, I mean, this all makes so much sense. She only lives 25 miles away. But how's a homeless father with no money going to go meet with his daughter? And when I asked hundreds of people here if they'd help me go see her because I'd have a chaperone so they wouldn't claim that I was raping her. I mean, it goes on and it goes on, people.
Johnny's in America, no tags at the wheel. No one needs anyone, they don't even just pretend. Johnny's in America. I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of the world. I'm afraid I can't help it. I'm afraid I can't.
Road Watch to a different level. We got an oath, a holy oath that we take among ourselves here to come to each other's aid in case of a police raid or a federal raid or a roadblock or any kind of thing like that, or a crime. But there's no crime here. The only crime we're faced with is federal crime. So we got to be ready to defend against that. I know you've got a homeless champion there. My wife and I, I've got a good job when I'm working. I'm a drilling consultant. I drill oil and gas wells. Very good job. But unfortunately, I've been out of work now for 6 months, and I've gone longer than that. And my wife and I have been homeless, despite this good living that I can make when I'm working. But when the bottom drops out, as it did in 2008, we became homeless. And it's the most terrifying experience for someone who's not used to it. And we went on and on and on, living in the car with our dogs. So we've been there, and we know what it's like. The way to defend against that, of course, the fault is at the federal level. The federal government has destroyed all our jobs, sent our jobs to slave labor camps in China, which was the whole purpose of World War II in the Pacific, was to create a slave economy for the Western industrialists to exploit. And out of that, how many of us are homeless now? The country is a nation of homeless people, and essentially homeless people, one paycheck away from being homeless. So the fault is the federal government, and for that reason, the federal government has to be destroyed. If for that reason only, that it has created homelessness. It's not the state governments, because state governments don't take us to war. State governments don't authorize the Federal Reserve private banking system that has destroyed our lifeblood, our currency. It's all because of the federal government. The only solution to this atrocity, this crime against humanity, is to destroy this wicked, this federal central government created by the Federalists. We've been conned into thinking the Federalists back in the old days were decent guys. No, they were criminals, Freemasons, who wanted to perpetuate themselves in power with their Constitution. The Constitution is the root of our undoing. It's the reason we got homeless people, is because of the stinking Constitution. Gave us a president. What's a president? Now they say it's somebody who presides. Nobody never heard of a president before 1789. We got George Washington as the president. He's a dictator. Instant dictator. We really didn't see the dictatorship aspects until 1861. Abraham Lincoln. There, we had the dictator. And homelessness. My God. What kind of homelessness did he create? 850,000 dead people. That's what you get with this federal central government, and we have to destroy this thing. There's just no other way. There's no getting around this central fact. We've got to destroy the central government. That's why we're all homeless, or potentially homeless.
Well, I know that, Bruce, it took me a wake-up call in 1999 when I came out to my house at 22025 Redmond Falls City Way, and it no longer belonged to me, and it had over 30 years of research and archives, and they hauled it all out to the dump in some storage bin down in California. And they made a trust with my name, WillPWilson Enterprise Trust. It was all done down in Texas. And it was done by Vance Boudreaux, working for Joe Eisen. And that's after I had been bilked out of millions of dollars and been used as a target of mind control warfare operations here tied to the NSA, where even the head of the NSA, Jim Morse, M-O-R-S-E, actually comes out to my house and sits in my living room with a black box in his lap, which I was told later erases part of your DNA. And I wasn't aware of any of this. I was just thought everybody in America was straight upright and everybody was trying to go forward and try to help create this as a great world and great country. I wasn't aware that most of these people are not. And in my money, my finances, I'd helped created 7 NASDAQ companies, 5 international research foundations. And my money was being managed by a Michael S. Kunath. The firm was Kunath, Karen, Rini, and Atkins. And they were under contract by Bank of America, which I thought they would make sure these guys would run things right. They were just starting their company in 1984 when I started to become a millionaire. I had just started doing some incredible things in businesses, creating businesses, and I was the founder of some of the biggest in the world, believe it or not. But I wasn't aware that if you're not part of these secret societies, if you're not a part of, like I said, the Jesuit crime syndicate, people don't realize they do more than just rape little children, mostly Catholic children, by the way. And I was baptized Catholic when I was age 3, by the way. And they rape and pillage even the Catholics. They don't even think of themselves as Catholic, yet you put them in charge. And take a look at the World Court hearings right now on the affidavits coming forward on the Pope being involved in child trafficking. Think about that one. And now we're dealing with these crime syndicates that the NSA, National Security and Mr. Morse, head of it, comes into my house, uses psychotronic weapons on me in my living room. And in the meantime, I'm not aware that I'm being targeted by, chemical lobotomy being put in my food by my first wife, Jennifer Ann Cohn, that's C-O-H-N. And nobody ever warned me that you don't deal with these Ashkenazi Karzakians. I thought people were human. I wasn't aware that certain kinds of people are not, especially like my first wife, Karzakian, Ashkenazi. Isn't it the same composition of those characters that think they're Jewish and have control of Israel, and the ones that do all the banking, money laundering for Rothschild, the Ashkenazi Karzakians, and that they're the guys killing all the Palestinians and Libyans and everybody else down in the Middle East? And yet we think that, and that's AIPAC too, right? So they're out to not just only get us. It's a miracle I'm still here, even broadcasting. Get that, I'm still here. And I'm afraid
I can't. I'm afraid of Americans. Jungles in America. Johnny wants a brain. Johnny wants to suck on the